Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome back to Nalo's Thrift Talk. I'm Lola.
And I'm Nay.
And you can maybe hear my cat scratching at the door because now the door is closed. Sorry about that. And this is a weekly live show all about thrifting and reselling and different ways that we use secondhand items in our lives to make them better and allow us to live away from a 9-to-5 job and kind of live life on our own terms. So if you're new, welcome. This episode is all about handbags. And as usual, let Nay introduce today's topic.
Yes, so we're not going to really be going into specific bolos because in past episodes we've talked about Kate Spade, we've talked about Betsy Johnson, Coach, we've done some things on some specific handbags to look for. But this time we're going to kind of go through like the anatomy of a handbag, just like a kind of brief crash course on different styles. Some styles are trending right now, different accents and parts of a handbag, and some things to look for as far as style, shape, silhouette, and also some listing tips. And I know that the item specifics in eBay can be a little overwhelming for handbags. So we're going to do a brief rundown through the item specifics and show you, what's what. And so hopefully you'll learn something, whether you are new to buying and selling handbags or just thrifting them for yourself, either way. Or if you're a veteran handbag buyer and seller, maybe you'll learn some tips as well.
Mm-hmm. And before we dive into our weekly topic, we do have a couple of our usual segments.
Yes, we do. So I am again operating on one monitor because this time my monitor is cracked. So I have to get a whole new monitor. So
every week something seems to happen.
So anyway, but we are, so if I'm a little bit slow or I accidentally close out like I did last week, that is why I'm operating on my 13-inch MacBook monitor for everything. So, okay. If anybody has any tips, by the way, for a good deal on a monitor, I need an HDMI, just a regular HDMI external monitor. Anybody has any like tips or deals? Maybe Brian in the chat does.
He just
I'm a monitor now, and I don't want to.
Like you'll have to do some business.
Ooh, okay. So Brian, we'll have to talk later because I need a new monitor. This one was this is I had it was an Acer, nice widescreen monitor, and I just plugged it in before the show, and the LCD is cracked, so it's just like lines and waves and no picture. I think one of my kids is probably the guilty party, but I'm not going to point fingers. Anyway, so we are so Lola, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay. So switch us around. Okay. So this week, my weather here, it was 70 degrees on Monday. And then yesterday it snowed all day. Not like it was sticking on the ground, but it was like big, fluffy flakes. It was like legit snow. So I love snow, but I'm over it. I really want it to be spring. And I was going through my inventory and I saw this. It is a Talbot's linen. And I mean, it's a shell. So it should be buttoned in the front. It's just too small for me. But I was so like the color just made me super happy. So I wanted to figure out a way to wear it anyway. So I'm just kind of wearing it layered. And then I realized when I logged on today that it totally matches our background. So
yeah,
I'm like decked out for our thrift talk today.
It really does. How cute. So adorable. So I am wearing okay, so I'm gonna take my sweater. My sweater is actually also thrifted from, it was a sweater that came, it's just a black cardigan that came in one of the Thrift to You boxes that I had ordered recently. It was for $1, so can't go wrong with that. So this is actually this awesome 80s, it's a long, like kind of oversized t-shirt. It is Cara Little. And if you don't know Cara Little is still in existence today, but not as desired. The older pieces are more desired. This was from the 80s, and I can tell because it was actually from the Crown Royal Colony, British colony of Hong Kong. And so that's a big tip off that it's 80s. It is 100% cotton. With Carol Little, what you are looking for is
German rayon.
So imported from Germany. Yeah, that's what the collectors are looking for. But cotton, this is still desirable. You know, it's it kept ending up in my listing pile, and then I kept pulling it out. So I finally realized subconsciously I was telling myself that I want it. So I decided to finally keep it. The earrings are also thrifted. I don't remember where I thrifted them for. I just know that I thrifted them probably for like $1 or somewhere. And this is actually a headband that I'm wearing as a choker today. So
that's such a clever idea. I love it.
And then
this is how bright and springy we both are.
Yeah. So this is also thrift to you, this cup bracelet. So I don't think it's real like gold, real gold or anything. It's hammered. It's cute. You know, it's just costume jewelry, but you know, so. And I will show the tag on my, let me, I don't know. Can you switch the views so that I can show? Yeah. So I'll show the tag on my Carol Little shirt. This is the tag. You'll see this is Carol Little Sport, which is kind of like a little bit of a lower end line, but it's like their sport line, kind of like you have St. John Sport. And you'll see it is a size small. So I'm not usually a size small. So it's definitely, you know, an oversized fit. But it's 100% cotton, and you can see that's a big tip off that it's 80s, made in the British Crown colony of Hong Kong. So there you go. And then I also have a close-up of just the material, so you can see that it's got the sequins and the beads, and yeah, so that is what I am wearing today. And thank you.
And did you see Laura is offering to send you a monitor?
No, I did not see that. Sweet. Oh my goodness. Awesome. Oh, thank you, Laura. That's so sweet of you. Yeah, I will I'll let you know after the show if you can message me, or I'll message you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just need a monitor like in a pinch, because the one I bought not too long ago is now cracked. So my kids, it's probably my fault, because I had it like in the, I was working in the living room last night, and I had it sitting on the coffee table. They were horsing around. So I'm sure that someone broke it and didn't fess up, because monitors don't just crack like that. And I didn't drop it or anything. So
you sure it wasn't the dog?
No, I don't think so. Anyway, so our next segment is our thrifted home decor items of the week. And I actually have 2 this week. So I have this lovely little radio flyer wagon. This is actually from 1990. We did get it at a flea market. My mom was using it for like her plants. And then when my kids came along, they played with it. They would like take their teddy bears for a ride and whatnot. So it's kind of been around for a while. I did look it up though, and it was 1990. And I do remember getting it at a flea market in Yardley, probably like in the early 2000s at some point. So actually my mom got it. She, like I said, she was using it for like a little planter thing. I did look it up. It's worth like the soldier, like maybe 20 to 25 plus shipping. So not really worth that much.
I'm surprised it's not more. I would have guessed that those are like quite collectible, but it is so cute. Very like perfect for plants.
It is. It's really cute. And then I also had, this isn't exactly home decor, but somebody could use it for home decor. So this is, and I showed you this, and it kind of ties into next week's show, which I'll be talking about in a little bit. So this is a People magazine this was my People magazine, something that you can find thrifted or, you know, at an estate sale or whatever, from 1994, April 25th, right after Kurt Cobain died. And this People magazine is worth a whopping $20 to $22 for this issue.
Not bad for
yeah, so I am going to be listing it, but interestingly enough, it's funny, some of the ads in here are interesting. Like you don't see cigarette ads.
Yeah, like those are no longer legal, right?
Exactly. So it's just funny to look at some of the ads in here and to kind of reminisce about you know, what's in here, but hit or miss stores, I don't think they exist anymore. But next week we're going to be talking about ads. So and I'll show that in a minute. Jess is in the chat. She's going to be joining us as our guest next week. So, it's possible that in this magazine too, there could have been some ads that, so look for not only old magazines, people do use them like for home decor on their coffee tables, collectors use them, sometimes they frame them, whatever, or they're related to a specific story that's nostalgic for them. But also the ads in them can make you some money. So
yeah, I'm so excited to learn about that.
Yes, me too. And our next segment is...
Oh, what about me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So I realized by complete coincidence, I have 2 items that you gave me. One is this coffee mug.
Oh, yeah. That's right. It's got a friendship quote on it, right?
Yeah. Life's truest happiness is found in the friendships we made along the way.
Yes.
And I love this mug because it's one of my smaller mugs. So lately I've been drinking a lot of matcha and it's like just the perfect size. But right now I just have coffee and cat hair on the lid or on the rim. And then Nay sent me this in the mail the other day.
Oh, you framed
it. And I'm obsessed with it. Yeah. So they sent me the postcard. As you might know, if you've seen our show before, I collect postcards, and I used to live in Philly, which is where Nay and I first became friends. And I'm queer, so the rainbow also matters a lot to me. So this was like the perfect postcard.
Like the trifecta of everything that is. Yeah. So I was going through some of my, just this past week or so, I was going through some of my items I had taken from my old house, and I was trying to organize, and I found that postcard, and I was like, oh my gosh, this has got to go to Lola. So I mailed it to Lola.
Yeah, it's so perfect. And the frame is just like a vintage metal frame. I think I'll probably find one that is a little simpler because I don't want to take away from the picture, but I also want to
in there. I like it. It makes it kind of a little more eclectic.
Yeah. So at least I need to get the right like mat for it so that it's not floating in the middle. But I did want to say, and I think I've mentioned this on a previous show, but it's a good tip to know, if you find frames that do not have the backing, you can buy the backing online. And this one should be a little bit thicker. You can buy them a little bit thicker. So I do want to replace this one, but these are not great to hang with the command strips, which is what I normally do with like IKEA frames and stuff.
Yeah.
So this backing does have the metal hook.
Little loop.
You can hang it that way.
Hook. Loop. Hook. Yeah.
So if you find frames that don't have the glass or don't have the back, it's not hopeless. It's pretty easy to replace. So it's a good way to find thrifted frames, is knowing you can just kind of fix them up.
And I think I thrifted that mug at Philly AIDS Thrift, if I remember.
Did you really?
Yeah, I believe so. It was quite a while ago, but yeah, because a little friendship quote. I was like, oh, Lola.
It's perfect.
And I have our last segment, which is our new segment. Okay, so holy poop emoji. This sold. So I have a couple. I didn't show these to you, Lola, but the first one I found was this. I think if they had marketed it differently, it might have even, sold for more, but because it is weird and weird sells. But it's interesting. This is just a handmade, odd, creepy, bizarre vase. And it sold for $14.99. That is a little creepy. And also, speaking of handbags, I did find a handbag listing. So and their pictures are horrible. And I'm kind of surprised that it sold because of the pictures in itself. And I think if they had marketed it differently, maybe, they did get $19.99 for it, but I'm kind of surprised that it sold for that much with the pictures and all. So I think maybe if they had marketed a little differently, had, better pictures and whatnot, but it is a kind of a funny, chicken handbag, and, weird does sell, unusual sells. So that is, I
think I've seen people carrying bags like that on Instagram, like as like a funky.
Okay, yeah. And I could see something like this selling on Depop too.
Mm-hmm.
They've got their hand in there with their dirty fingernails, and, not the best picture, but it's old. So, and then our next week, we're going to be talking with Jess again, who is in the chat, I believe. So Jess has sold, I think she said over 100 ads. And I have sold 0, just full disclosure. I don't know. Have you sold any, Lola?
Honestly, it had never even occurred to me until Jess, and I'm so sorry because I know there were 2 people who mentioned it and I don't remember who the second person was, but until it was mentioned in the chat, it had never occurred to me. And so it just kind of blew my mind. And as I mentioned, I have a ton of vintage magazines that I really need to part with. So I'm really excited to find out what to look for, which ones are collectible, and what condition they need to be in, things like that. So I'm sure Jess will have answers for all of that for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I have a couple ads that I want to ask her about next week. So that'll be fun. So next Friday on the 30th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, Jess will be joining us as our special guest to talk all about thrifting, buying, selling, ads. And we're going to get into our main segment. So, so I guess I'll just start off with saying that. So if you go on to Pinterest, you just do a Google search, there are a ton of visual glossaries like this. This one is from Just Fab, which is like one of those monthly subscription type things where you get like they sell basically shoes and handbags, and it's like $30 or $40 a month. I used to actually do they have very, very poor resale value, but and they're not the best made, but cute, kind of trendy kind of things. But anyway, this is a visual glossary from them. But there's so many. If you just look on it, just search visual bag dictionary glossary, that kind of thing. So this is one from Pinterest, and you can see the shapes. So, and I do have a few in-hand samples here, but so a hobo bag kind of has the handle so that it's kind of cut out on the top, and the bag is almost kind of like integrated into the handle. You'll see the baguette style, duffel, shopper, or a tote bag. That's also the tote bag is on the bottom, but they're a little bit different. But shopper and tote are kind of synonymous. Wristlet, I have one of those here. Messenger bag has like a long crossbody strap. Clutches are handheld, satchels, totes, and bucket bags. So those are just some of the styles there. You'll also see, this was a good one. This is from Shilpa Aju. I don't know who that is or what, but it's just this is their website, and they have a good style guide too. So this is just shows you some of, and fanny packs, by the way, are still in style. Mm-hmm. They've had a little bit of momentum, but I think they're kind of here to stay. So envelope bag looks like an envelope. It's like a clutch that looks like an envelope. But these are some of the styles, and there's so many. Micro bags are really tiny. I actually have one, not here, but so look for these guides when you're looking to list. If you're not sure about what style you have, you're not sure about the silhouette, look for these style guides. They're all over the internet in order to use the correct keywords, because people are sometimes looking for a certain style, and they will be looking, they will be using those keywords. So it also has some interesting descriptors about the types of bags. So bicycle bags, bindles. So this is kind of, this is one of the good guides that I found, and I can, by all means, I can, I always say we're going to put the links in, and we don't end up doing it after. So we need to,
we definitely need to get better at that. I also keep meaning to start like a good Pinterest board that has all of these guides collected on them, because I mean, I think one of my most like helpful thrifting tools is just having a dedicated Pinterest board where when I search for something and I need to look up a guide like this for the terms, that I know I'll probably reference it again. So I just save it to my like thrifting Pinterest board, and I can go back and reference it in the future. So I definitely recommend doing that if anyone watching this is realizing that some of these terms are unfamiliar, that you don't have to memorize them all. You can just make sure that the information is like really readily accessible to you when you're out and about and at the thrift store. So, for me, Pinterest is easy. There's also, you can use like Evernote, different apps like that, that as long as it's easy to pull up on your phone on the go, you figure out a system that works for you.
Yeah, Heather, we're going to get to your question in a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about cleaning in a little bit. So just hold tight for a minute. So crossbody is one of my favorite styles. I actually have one here that's
same. Yeah, that's my like go-to, especially thrifting, because then it keeps your hands free and it's just, you can like keep it.
And they're actually in right now because they were very in during like the Y2K. They were a popular Y2K style, and they've really circled back into popularity. I don't think they've ever gone out of popularity. They've never lost some of it, but they've kind of, now they're like more desired because the Y2K look is back in. This is just a Target bag. It's nothing fancy, nothing that was expensive, but you can see the long strap, and they usually have the adjustable strap on them too. But they usually have like that adjustable. And when you're listing a crossbody bag, we're going to talk about measurements, but I always list I always measure from the longest to the shortest, and I say the strap drop goes from, I don't know, 21 inches to 27 inches or whatever, so that they get an idea of how adjustable it is.
I would also add, for crossbody bags in particular, a lot of them will have will be sort of convertible, and the strap can be removed. So sometimes we'll find a crossbody bag that so like this one actually.
Oh, hold on.
So another term for this specific style, like shape, is a camera bag. But it's also crossbody. It does have a long strap. And this one actually doesn't remove. But often when you see there's metal findings on the side like this, this will be a clasp and you can remove it. It also means that, and a tip that to see that it can be removed is that often those bags will then also have shoulder straps that are just shorter. In those cases, often the crossbody strap will be missing. So if you ever are thrifting, like at the bins or something, and you find just the strap,
that's a good tip.
It's worth picking up, because in this, sometime in the future, you might find a very similar bag that's like the color matches, and you can add the strap back. So obviously, you want to disclose to the buyer that it's not the original strap, but often what people are concerned about is just the functionality of the crossbody, strap being present, not that it has to be the exact right one. So
that is true that they're safer against purse snatchers.
Yeah, that's why I first started carrying them, because I was living in New York.
Yeah, the city. That's what I was going to say. I'm from Philly. This one is actually one that has the crossbody and the.
That's exactly what I was trying to describe with those shorter.
The satchel, and so this has the long strap attached. So it could be a crossbody. It could be, called a handbag or a shoulder bag. It's a snug fit, but it is a shoulder bag. And then you'll see that this is, so this actually just snaps right off of there. Just see. So you can take that.
Perfect example.
And a lot of times you'll find them without the strap, but it's not a deal breaker. Just note, long strap not included. Show a picture of, this part so that they know that. But people will still buy them. It's not a deal breaker because it can be easily added.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. And so this is a really good, it goes through, a lot of the terms. I won't, but it goes through so many of the terms, and what, and then it gives you an example of each one. So I will put this, eventually I will put it in the chat, in the notes from the show. So this is another example. This is a really old one, a drawing, but this is another example of, some of the, you can see some bowling bag. That's another one that, but you can see what some of them look like. So I would definitely bucket bag. It looks like a bucket.
Good. This is one of my favorite purse finds from the bins. I think we were together when I found this. This is a vintage bucket bag.
Yep.
They have a drawstring.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is one of the main characteristics. This one is from, I think it's like Lord & Taylor branded.
Bag.
Yeah, the nicest leather. It could also be worn as a crossbody. It's a tiny bit short, but I've worn it as a crossbody before. So you can also see it's kind of floppier.
Yeah. Messenger bags are, well, they were traditionally, they can be for men or women. They're kind of unisex. And I think that they're a good, like, kind of gender neutral bag too. Mm-hmm. So here's another, oh boy. Well, that link isn't coming through, so I'll just skip over that one. But that was another description of some of the bags I can. So this, I love these little guides that they have. There's a ton of these. It's visual glossary purses. And there's a ton of these if you look in Pinterest, and little drawings with, and then it gives you like the descriptors of them too, like the drawings, and then it'll give you the details for each one. So yeah, round and bottom, like there's a saddle bag, commonly features metal hardware and or embossed. Sorry. Okay, yeah. So you get the idea, but there's a ton of these on Pinterest. There's a whole series of them. I think it's called Sparkle and Fuzz did them, but there's a ton of them. So those, I love those little drawings that are like that. So you can look for those on Pinterest. And then here's another one. You get the idea. There are so many of them that so there's really no reason to not include the right keywords when you're listing a purse, because there's so many resources. And again, if you're not sure, you can always ask us, pop it in the thrifting board. There's a ton of resources. So yeah. And for the handles, here's an idea of some of the handles. There are different, and you don't need to have necessarily to have all of the, and this is more for when people that are making their own handbags, but you get the idea. So tube handles, cord handles, and a handle is different than a strap. A handle is usually handheld on the top versus a strap that is versus a strap that's.
And I think I have one here. So this would be a handle.
Yeah.
Versus a strap. This is a vintage, I believe it is real alligator.
Oh wow. That's a frame bag.
And this is a frame bag. We were talking about frame bags. So this one, the shape of the bag comes from the metal frame, so hence the name. And you can see on the side how it opens like that. It has a metal clasp, so it does stay shut.
It's a structured bag.
And this one has like a suede interior. It does say genuine leather lined. And I looked up the brand is Marchioness. And it seemed like this brand does make genuine alligator bags. So that's where I determined that from. Although it isn't marked itself, which I think is why this one has been languishing unlisted, because I did want to confirm that. But this is from the bins, so it was.
Wow, yeah, and that lock is also that lock. The lock, I wonder the lock on that bag that you just had. Can you show the? Yeah, so that's a type of lock that is a oh gosh.
Here it kind of clicks shut.
Is it I want to say a clasp lock? I
don't know.
Or a push lock. There is a term for that lock.
I'll have to look it up though, because
that's a common one. Another one that you'll find is a kiss lock, which is this.
There we go. Sorry.
So this is, you can
Oh,
see
yeah,
on
it's pretty similar to
my
mine.
bag, this is an Isabella Fiore bag, and you can see that.
Jess does say kiss lock. So that's this one here.
That's this one. That it looks like two balls, and
Mhm.
and they just kind of, swap back and forth, and that's a kiss lock, yeah. So, and definitely people do look for that keyword. So put that keyword if you have a kiss lock bag, put that in there. I have a couple others here that this. So this is, if it didn't have the little, this is detachable, but this would be called a clutch.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't have, but with the little strap, it's a wristlet. So wristlet is just a mini bag that you just kind of, you can put your phone in it if you're going somewhere. If you go, sometimes like if I go on a walk or something, I'll carry something like this. These are popular too for if they're a little more fancy. This is a more casual one for weddings and whatnot. But that's a wristlet. And then this is a turn lock. This is another popular type of lock. So yeah, so that's that type of lock. And then this has a bag charm on it. A lot of them are detachable. Some of them are missing, but I have that in the notes a little bit ahead. I'm jumping a little ahead, but bag charms are something that you can also sometimes find in the bins, sometimes find, separate, and you can sell them because people do look for them, especially like some of them will be marked on the hardware. They'll be marked Coach, or they'll be marked, this is a Mulberry. It's a Mulberry for Target bag though, but they'll be marked with what brand they are. Like this one has a little Mulberry logo on it. So even if they become detached from the bag, you'll be able to tell, a lot of them, you'll be able to tell what brand they are, and you'll be able to sell them separately because they do become detached. They are missing. And if there is a bag charm attached to the bag that you're selling, that is a perk. So definitely, note that. So
good to know.
Yeah.
I just realized I had never thought about this before, but this is a kiss lock too.
Oh,
right?
it is a kiss lock. Yes. Yes. And that's also a clutch.
Cool. Yeah. So this is a clutch. It is not Bakelite. I did test it.
Is it? It's Lucite probably.
Probably, yeah. But it's definitely, it's mid-century. It is pretty scuffed up.
I would love to carry that to a wedding or something.
Yeah.
I'd have to put some kind of liner in it or something because I wouldn't want everybody to see, my personal items that I was carrying necessarily. But
yeah, the only downside to this one, I think, is that I remember trying once that my phone is too big.
Well, it was made in a time when people
almost, yeah.
Okay.
I think my last one didn't fit.
Yeah.
This one's just.
When you have if this whole pole doesn't fall down, I'm just gonna go through some of these. So this is Dooney. This is also a bucket bag because it doesn't have the drawstring on the top, but it is a bucket bag. And this is a different type of, that's another type of closure there that I can't think of the name of, and you can see it's deep, it's long, it's elongated, and then this also has a bag charm on it. So, and this is one of my favorite bags. I got it in Philly Aid Thrift. I remember I was thrifting with Jason when I got it a few years back, and it is
pretty.
Yeah, it is so mid-century. I won't sell this one. This is my bag. But this is another type of lock that I think you can also call this a toggle lock or a turn lock rather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it also has a zipper. And when you're listing purses too, always take a picture of the inside, mention how many compartments they have. This is called grosgrain, Grosgrain is the lining. And that is another hallmark of a vintage purse. It has like a ribbon-like texture to it. It almost looks like fine ribbon on the lining. And you can tell that a bag is vintage too because they're not made with grosgrain lining anymore. But
yeah, and I think you may not have said it, and Heather said it in the chat, but this is an example of a carpet bag.
But yeah, well, if it's tapestry, I guess it would still be considered a carpet bag. I do have a couple that I don't have here, but they are actual like real carpet bags where they're like fuzzy. This is more, I guess it could be a carpet bag, but it's tapestry. It's really,
Yeah, it looks like needlepoint.
it is. Yeah. It's needlepoint.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So a carpet bag is a little more fuzzy. Like I have a couple again, but not here.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could use that keyword safely.
You could, because people
but
will.
It is interesting that it's needlepoint and not like a tufted carpet.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Just going through the anatomy again, these make a difference. The feet on the bottom. If a bag is footed, that does make, and if any of those are missing, you need to denote it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a deal breaker, but so this is a shoulder bag because the bag is, it's a shorter strap, but you see a lot of this on Coach too. This is called jacquard, which is usually a logo that's repeated, that is embroidered. That's a jacquard fabric. This is just a classic tote here.
Oh no, is it gonna fall?
It's probably gonna fall. This is a classic tote bag. Just it doesn't have a closure on the top. Some of them just have a button. Some of them do have a zip. I always note if what something, if it has a. But this is great. Like if I'm just going thrift shopping and I just want to throw sometimes I'll have a smaller purse or something. I just want to throw some bags, if you want to throw some snacks, a bottle of water. These are great for that. And then this is really, this is kind of a hobo bag.
I don't think, did you have that on our Kate Spade show? I don't remember it.
No, I got this late. I had another Kate Spade purse that tragically got donated. So I bought this one to replace that one. I want to talk about it. It's a little dramatic, but I bought this one to replace that one. This is kind of more like a hobo bag. If it came up a little more, it would really be a hobo bag, but it's kind of, you could call it a hobo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'd say a good hallmark of a hobo is that the bag kind of forms the shape.
Exactly. The handles kind of.
So that one's almost like a sort of in between style, but it definitely is hobo-ish enough that I would.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is the last one I'm going to show here, but I like this one because it is a tote. It's a tote, very long Chambesk, but it has the funny thing about this. You can tell this dates it is the cell phone pouch on the front, because cell phones are not. This is made for like a smaller flip phone of that era, and they're no longer made. So, but I would still use this. Use it for something else. Just my iPhone isn't going to fit in there.
Right. I'd be worried about putting my cell phone out in the front like that anyway. But I guess back when it was those phones, like the Nokia phones were not $1,000 phones. Now it's like, this is
exactly. It's a little different
computer that I keep with me all the time. So
yeah, that's funny. So running through
item specifics.
Sure. Let's see.
So this is a bag that I currently have listed. It is a really nice. So this is a clutch, but the beautiful thing about it has sort of it is I would call it a frame bag because it does have a frame inside it. It's just not visible, and it has these like little describe it like not latches, joints. What's the right word for this name? I'm blanking. Hinges.
Yeah, I would say hinges.
And it bends. It bends open.
Yeah, it's it's hinged. I guess that's what you would say.
It has a nice drop. It's not quite crossbody length, but it is,
I love the chains that also with the clutches, if they come with the chain or the strap inside, definitely note that, because some of them either the chain is broken, it's missing a lot of times. So that is something that people look for. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's beautiful. It's like perfect transformation. You can't tell at all that it has the strap when you're carrying it as a clutch, but you do have that option. And the brand on the inside is, it says Bags by Supreme. So I think this is a problem I've had with selling it, because Supreme, of course, is also a streetwear brand that is not the same brand that is this purse. I do believe it is real snakeskin. So it's listed. It's been sitting for a while. And I thought it would be a good exercise. We can go through the item specifics together, but also if any of you have feedback for me to improve the listing, I'm totally open to that as well. So, so handbags as a category on eBay, I feel like might have the most item specifics of like any category I've seen. So, okay, good. So these are my photos. And so here's where you start to get to the item specifics. The first thing that it asks for is brands, you know, self-explanatory material. Usually, as we've seen on these vintage bags, the material is on the, when it's listed, it's on the inside, printed on the inside. So like on this one, it does say the lining material in here. For more modern bags, it will be on the equivalent of like the care tag.
Can you zoom up a little bit on those?
Sure.
Just that everybody can see.
Yeah. Let me open it. See if I can. I wish I had two monitors like you.
Well, like I did.
Okay. So yeah. So let me know.
So much easier.
There we go.
Yeah, that's better. Perfect.
Okay. So style. This is where the terms that we've been going over that that we were talking about. Nia was talking about the different references on Pinterest. That's exactly where you're going to see these terms. So if you're stuck, you know, that's when to pull up the reference and look at the images for.
Yeah. Don't just guess because that's going to have, you know, that's not. Yeah, just
color department. So
that's an annoying one that they have put department now, because I have like over 400 listings now that I have to go back and add department to.
Well, and as you probably know about me, I also am not a huge fan of saying that like a purse is for a woman.
No, because women, and that's what it is kind of, yeah, it's an odd one, but anyway, that's
yeah. I definitely
your blue dot is not filled in.
What?
Your blue dot is not.
I know. So I did before this episode go through and fill in some of these things. I feel like there's some item specifics that become really redundant or just not really applicable.
Don't even get me started. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I'm going to fill in the blue dot, but like I said, I think you had stepped away for a second. I am super open to feedback on this listing. So if anyone in the chat or if you, Nay, have ideas for me to fill out these better, you know, I'm very open to it.
So we talked about the bottle pocket would be more for like a like you see some of them, they're like mesh pockets on the side.
Well, for a backpack.
Yeah, for a backpack. Yeah, they have even in obviously in a diaper bag situation, you would have an actual bottle pocket for a baby bottle. But and then a lot of these are we talked about bag charms. We talked about the adjustable strap. So yeah, so a lot of those are kind of but check anything that's. And you can also add your own in too.
Yeah. So credit card, I assume what they mean here is credit card slots, which I've mostly seen on like small clutches. So you don't have to have a wallet inside the clutch. It's a nice feature. I do have a bag like that myself that I love. So we talked about crossbody straps, detachable strap with the clasps. So like some of these, I also just, you know, I'm like, well, eco-friendly, what does that mean exactly? Is that the way the brand is marketing it? I mean, that's very subjective.
Yeah, and this is a key clip. They have a lot of these have on the inside. They have something like this. You know that just has a little that you can. So that's.
You talked about the inner dividers, inner pockets.
Yep. Yeah, some of these are it's a photo holder, like I don't know, but you know.
Yeah.
Removable packs. Some of them actually do come with like some of the Coach bags, some of the Dooney bags and whatnot do come with a smaller inner like kind of change purse bag that has one of those clips on it that is removable. So look
yeah, and I think some of these you might only know if it's new with tags. So like stain resistant, I wouldn't necessarily list unless I listed that way unless I knew on the on the tag, it was marketed that way by the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of them are self-explanatory, but if you have, I don't know, RFID blocking.
RFID is a technology that blocks like the
like the
scanners that like steal your ID.
Yeah, like the magnetic strips on your
yeah.
Okay, that makes
sense.
sense.
So like some of these are obviously like, this is a vintage purse. It's not going to be RFID blocking. But not everyone's listing only vintage purses. So theme again is like very open to interpretation. A lot of these seemed more relevant, like if you're listing a kid's backpack or something where it has like a motif on it. So, I mean, theme, like I guess 80s and 90s would be the era of the vintage purse. I put snake, even though I feel like that almost makes it sound like there's a snake on it versus snake skin. So yeah, a lot of these, like bohemian would be more of the style, whereas maybe like butterfly would be the motif. So it seems a little bit like this category is blurred. And basically, I would make sure that you use this to your advantage if you are listing a bag that has some sort of like motif, like Nay's needlepoint bag where it's floral. We could select floral here.
Yeah. Brian has. I'm just going to put his posts. He's got some information about the RFID.
Oh. Okay, so I was wrong. Thank you, Brian, for correcting me.
Yeah. So okay. So I guess so then somebody couldn't just. So it's got a radio. Okay. So somebody couldn't just like that way. If you have one of those badges or something, somebody couldn't just steal your purse and then walk in, or whatever. And well, they stole your purse, but they couldn't just. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Is it? I guess it would block the transmission.
So it's more like you couldn't just hold your purse up to.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So like grunge is a term that I use a lot for 90s, especially. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Agree. And I feel like I say this every time I'm filling out. Sometimes like I will, be late at night and I'm listing and I'm just like, you know what? I don't feel like doing the item specific. So I'll just list something on Posh or Depop instead, because I feel like I'm back in school taking a multiple question quiz. Like I'm taking a test whenever I fill out the item specifics. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. So like there's a few here that I find that would be useful to me. So like grunge definitely is in right now with 90s kind of styles coming back. So if that's what you're listing, like a nylon crossbody purse, I might put grunge because that's actually going to help surface it. But like, I mean, if you had a bag with a horse on it, I guess but this is it's just really not the most useful category.
Product line. Now, if you have
product line, this is if you have like a diffusion.
Yeah, exactly.
A diffusion line bag, you want to make sure.
I can't think, like Victoria's Secret pink, like some, whatever they have.
Yeah. And a lot of these you'll see are like very high-end brands. So if you are selling a high-end brand, you definitely want to be very specific. And so some of these also look like these are, okay, so if you go back to our
Poppy is one that Coach does, yeah.
Yeah, our Coach and Kate Spade episodes where we'll talk about some of these. So if you know that specific line, then that's a great.
Sometimes they'll have actual names.
There's
lines of bags. Yeah, like the Poppy bags from Coach are kind of more quirky and fun, and yeah.
Your saddlebags are making a comeback, so that's a good one to know.
Yeah, so some of these are applicable, but if you just have, like a like a vintage handbag like this, it's not going to have a name to the product line. So sometimes what I'll do to get the full blue dot, and I don't know if this really makes a difference or not, but I'll do it. I'll just put NA, like not applicable.
Yeah.
So that I have something there, and then the blue dot will fill in. But
so I mean, accents. I feel like, again, it's a little frustrating. Like something that has a strap is not the same as describing a bag as quilted. Like I feel like it's kind of elements to the bag. But again, I mean, this is fairly straightforward at least, so that's pretty easy. Pattern. For mine, I did put animal print, although I think it's different to say it's animal print versus actual snakeskin.
You know what, Jess, you're right. I wish they would do something like that because, yeah, that's a good idea. So then you would have something, because I'll just type in NA and then just, so that I get my blue dot off it. So there's something there. And I think, I'm not sure that feeds the search engine. And I think having the blue dot filled in does help. So, but it is it's a little exhausting when you're, be a little, especially for a new eBay seller. I have my cousin actually just started selling on eBay, and she is so overwhelmed with the item specific. She's like, what do I do? What is all that? What does this mean? Do I have to fill out all these little boxes? And I'm like, just, it's okay. It's a little overwhelming, but so from the angle of someone just starting out on eBay, it is a little daunting. It's
absolutely.
And then the character, that kind of annoys me. I'll put NA a lot of time. Now, like I sold a Betty Boop handbag. That was a clear-cut character handbag. But some of them it's just not applicable. It's not,
Yeah. So this is where I can easily fill this part in. I just needed to.
So I don't have a ruler with me, but we, in our measurements issue, or episode, we talked about measuring handbags. So go back to that. But the width is from here to here across, obviously. When they talk about the depth, what they're talking about is measuring. You go to the base and you measure from here to here, and that is the depth at base. So this one is just eyeing at about 4 inches. So that's what they're talking about with depth. The width, the height, is from here to here. Strap drop goes not from where the strap is connected to the purse up, but from the top of the bag, like where it would hit the bag, the top of the bag to the top. So this one has a shorter strap drop. This is probably like 4 or 5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be a really tight, snug shoulder fit.
It's more like a
handbag.
Carry it on your arm, yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's what the strap drop is. You measure it from, again, where it first meets the top of the purse up to the top. And there's a difference between, there's a handle drop and a strap drop. So handle drop would be handle from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
Strap drop is,
yeah.
So you'll see a difference sometimes between the two.
Mm-hmm. Just checking back on the chat. So Brenda, were you asking about the hinges on the inside of my clutch? I put them in the actual description. I described them because I didn't find a good place to use in all of these item description and all of these item specifics. There wasn't a clear term for it, and it's a little bit unusual. So I definitely wanted to just take the time to describe that. When would it be beneficial to include RFID on purse item specifics? Again, I'm not really sure. I think maybe if that was, a specific item that had that as a feature that it was listed.
Yeah, and I think if you had the Nua tags bag, and it would probably say, on the tag RF. I'm just assuming RFID blocker or something, So then you could, but I've never seen one personally.
Oh, thank you. You might call it a crossbody bag instead. Might get a different looker. That's a good idea, just to switch it up and see if that helps, because it has listed as a clutch for a while.
Yeah, I would say. Did you have evening in there too? So it could be an evening bag.
Yeah, it's definitely an evening. I mean, I would definitely carry it as like an event with an event bag with like a nice dress. So So Heather asks who's looking for these item specifics, and Brian had a great answer. It's really for SEO. So it's not that someone's necessarily using these terms to search for it, but that the algorithm's able to bring up the right items when associated search terms are being used.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand why eBay is doing this. I think it also helps if a potential buyer is searching Google for an item and they're looking at Google search results for shopping results. When you search for something and it's like right at the very top, you start to see some of the items that are for sale across different platforms. So we do want our items to come up in those places. I just also am not really sure how some of these terms end up helping that.
Yeah. Well, when I looked at like for keywords, like there's so many for purses, and you want to pack your keywords, with, but the item specifics also help. But like I'll put shoulder bag, crossbody bag, bucket bag, clutch, whatever type of bag it is. And then I also, all this like hinge, kiss lock, the handles, whatever. But I looked for this. So handbag is one term that I usually we'll put handbag and purse, and then shoulder and bag if it's a shoulder bag or crossbody, and then the word bag separately. But I looked up, and this was at the time that I looked this up, handbag had 1,419,683 results on eBay. Purse had 1,398,872 results, so a little less. And then one that's kind of antiquated, but I was surprised that it still turned up this many results, is pocketbook. I don't ever use that.
Yeah,
because it's an older kind of term that's not really used anymore, but that had 370,120 results. So I guess people still do search that, interestingly enough. So do you want to go? Were you done with your item specifics?
Yeah. So the rest were basically measurements and colors. So pretty straightforward. But I did want to bring up those sort of tricky categories, and then of course for the shape of the bag and some of the aspects. If those terms are unfamiliar, you can use some of the resources that Nate over earlier in the episode.
Yeah. So I'll just run through a little bit of this. Okay, so it was interesting that I came up with this was a good graphic that I found. Your bag is your car, which is kind of funny. It's got the anatomy of a handbag. So some of these terms, if you're not sure what they are, you can look up. Like the D rings are those little rings that the detachable strap would so you can show like the D rings and say D rings are there, are present, but there is no detachable strap. That the bag feet are important. Always show a picture, and if there are any feet missing, always mention that too. But this was a really good graphic that I found for that. So. Oh, and then I can just put the link in the on our video, but this is interesting because this was for bag making, but it showed some of the different types of closure. So the hardware. And hardware.
Okay, I was just about to say, like, just like for clothing, if you're not sure about a term, it's always helpful to look at sewing. Like people who are making items, because they will really break down the different parts of it. Same for handbags. And there are people who do their own leatherworking and make handbags as a hobby. So, you can look up those blogs or YouTube videos and find, terms and even resources. Like if you wanted to try and replace a foot, for example, you could definitely do that and learn how to do that. It may also just be easier to leave it up to your buyer, but depends on the item and how much it might affect the value. So,
yeah. When you're looking for keywords too, I found some useful, like there's a lot of just, thesaurus type glossary, words to use.com. This is for handbags. And you can refer to some of these resources online just to get an idea, some good descriptors for your bags. And then here's another one that was, it's called relatedwords.org. And this was another one that had, maybe some of these will help, maybe they won't, but if you're ever stumped for keywords.
A great idea.
And it was so funny. I just on a side note, I didn't know this existed. So people on Etsy apparently sell packages of keywords for resellers. So very interesting market there that I just kind of came upon. I don't need, that's just one of my bag listings. I don't need to go through that. So when you're taking photos, if a bag has always include measurements, of course, with the photos. Oh, and then another tip is to get it authenticated. If it is high end, it's definitely worthwhile. But when you're taking photos, especially of high end brands, always include very good details of the hardware, of the details, so that people can tell that it is authentic. The creed or the stamp inside, always take pictures of those. This was a really good resource for just 10 tips for reselling your bag online. Some of them are a little bit more more obvious than others, but it just talks about different, the pricing and whatnot. But I also like, that they're always take close-ups of the logo, hardware, and serial number, date code if you can't find the number. So yeah, that's always take good, clear photos of all of the little details. And I can.
Yeah. And for the hardware too, I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that you do want to make sure and include the color or the metal tone of the hardware, because it often is a factor that people will use to decide whether or not to buy a bag, because a lot of times they'll want to match the hardware on their shoes with their bag or things like that.
I've never done by the way,
bag. Yeah. So if someone's like, they wear a lot of gold jewelry, they might make sure that they're only buying bags with gold hardware.
Yeah.
So that is important.
I mix my hardware with my.
I do too. I'm not picky about that at all, but I do know people.
But there are people that are. That's a good point. Mm-hmm. When you're storing your bags, briefly. So this is another good. This was a really good, a good example. In my closet, my storage of my bags looks nothing like that, by the way. But if you do have some high end bags, it is good to store them well. Now, for resellers, I will have to say that what you should do is you should stuff them with some kind of tissue paper or packing paper or something so that they hold their shape, so that they don't get, misshapen in storage. You can store them in a Rubbermaid tub. For higher end or more delicate bags, I would recommend dust bags. And you can, on another side note, you can sell dust bags too. That's also a very lucrative market too. I have found dust bags in the thrift stores, in the bins, for next to nothing, and sold them. I think it was a Balenciaga dust bag, and that got the name in my Poshmark closet. It got the name Balenciaga in my closet legitimately. Brought that traffic in, and I sold it, for maybe $20 or something, and I found it for just a couple dollars. So, but if you have, on the other hand, like here's the Dooney Burke bag I have here. If I have a bag that, if I was to find a Louis Vuitton bag and it didn't have a dust bag, you're darn right that I would be going onto eBay and looking for a Louis Vuitton dust bag, and I would be buying it to put, because that's something that buyers it's going to add value to. It's going to protect it while you're storing it. It's going to add value to your listing. So you can buy these not just for, if you're a reseller, you can also buy them for, for bags that you have that you're reselling. So
you can pick them up and set them aside to match up with bags too in the future. Yep. Or if you're just storing them, you find a random dust bag at the bins, that can be a great thing to use for storage for your own inventory.
Exactly. So dust bags are a whole are something to look for to resell and to buy. And then as far as cleaning and storing,
and so I pulled up a couple links that I had saved in my own Pinterest. So I was mentioning that earlier, that I keep sort of a resource for myself. So that was exactly where I went to try and pull up the resources I had used before. So this blog is it's a little hard to read because of the font, but it does have some really good tips for more intensive, like handbag cleaning, specific for stains and different issues.
So I think it was Heather. Who asked about ink stains in a bag.
Yeah, I think a couple answers came up in the chat too. I think I saw hairspray, which is one.
I know rubbing alcohol is also in the blog.
Yeah, I think that's one that comes up in this blog post. Magic eraser is in this blog post. I think it also came up in the chat, which is another one you want to use carefully. Good rule of thumb is always to spot test anything you're going to use to clean before you actually go at it.
Yeah, and some bags too, like the Vera Bradley bags, which are kind of losing momentum, but some of those styles, like the elephant bag, are still but like this bag, this is just a Vera Bradley. You can throw some of them in there if they're just cloth like this, right in the wash or soak them in Oxy. A lot of these do have a cardboard insert in the bottom. This one, it's either missing or it didn't have one. You just make sure you remove that first, and then you can just throw the whole thing in the wash, and it's nice. So
yeah, and I try to keep a cleaning kit that's just readily accessible to inventory. So currently in here I have, this is not necessarily a brand I recommend. It's just what I happen to have for my own shoes that I ended up kind of throwing in my kit. So you definitely want to have a leather cleaner and conditioner for handbags and shoes. Sometimes these are, so here it's clearly labeled. Sometimes they're separate, like a conditioner and a cleaner will be separate, but you can buy the 2-in-1. And I've definitely researched before, like which brands people seem to recommend the most, and have gotten kind of a number of people saying like, oh, I swear by this brand more than any, and like no clear consensus. So your mileage may vary on that. But generally I haven't felt like I needed to buy one specific product. And then again, from the Walking Company, which is just coincident, like not specifically endorsing this brand, but what I have, this is a suede cleaner, which can be good for spot cleaning. So
brush is that a suede brush?
It's a suede brush, and then a little like stone that will rub off any.
Yep. Again, you can use those for shoes too, but or leather jackets, suede jackets, anything like that. But they're great for handbags. Yeah.
And then this is one of the most used tools in my kit, which is just a horsehair brush. So if you're cleaning leather, you want to basically brush it down really nice, and like get off any just surface dirt and dust off of it with the brush. Then you go in
suede or regular leather.
Sorry, regular leather, not suede. So this for suede, you'd want to use the suede.
The suede. Okay.
And then go over it again with the brush, sort of to buff it in. And then in here, not related to handbags, but just kind of the other stuff I have is like sweater comb. I have cleaning solution specifically for Doc Martens. I have a loop. So.
And you talk about in our coach episode actually dunking a bag. Sometimes, yeah. Which
Heather says, I thought cat hair remover. No, it's not in my kit because it's always just right next to me at all times.
You talk about dunking a leather purse completely in water.
Oh yeah. So we did talk about that in our coach episode. It can be really nerve-wracking to actually just like give a bag a bath, but it is something you can do successfully. And there are tutorials that, I definitely recommend Googling like step by step, because people can show the, photos of each step and stuff and kind of guide you through it. I did try it with one of my coach bags that was completely beat up. It was from the bins. If I ruined it, it was already in horrible condition. So I had nothing to lose. And that's sort of, a good place to start. And since I'm sure most of us go to bins anyway, it's easy to find that kind of like guinea pig that you can test on. Mm-hmm. But it was amazing. Like I washed it. I think I used dish soap. I don't remember now. But I let it soak, and then I let it dry completely. I tried to do it on a day when it wasn't humid, so it was easier for it to dry quickly. And basically what I learned is that as long as you're submerging the entire bag fully and not, there isn't part that's sticking out, so it's not uniformly getting wet and then uniformly drying in the drying process, you won't get any watermarks or anything like that. Like it really does clean the bag. And so I wouldn't do that for every bag, but in those rare instances where you have a really beautiful vintage bag that just needs to be completely restored. And then the flip side of that too is that collectors of vintage bags will enjoy the process of buying a bag and like reviving it. So in some instances, you may also just want to list it for less and know that you're going to list it. You're going to get a price that's fair based on the condition, and that the buyer will probably take the time to do that whole process and to, restore it. So it's not, if you find that completely trash bag at the bins or the thrift store, depending on the brand and the age of it, it could still be worth picking up.
Yep.
Don't hurt my guinea pigs. No actual guinea pigs were hurt, and even the bag actually came out beautiful, so everything's good.
So this is another one that you had found.
Yes, this is another of my Pinterest saved resources. This one's more about for consumers who are buying bags secondhand and or thrifting them, but I think also buying them on places like Poshmark is sort of the intention, and what to do if you find a flawed bag. So again, the Q-tip and alcohol for removing stains.
You're talking about permanent marker and slits or cuts and different. Yeah, so Nubucks. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, so. Yep. Yeah, this does look like a great blog for stains and flaws and whatnot. Oh gosh.
Yeah, so these are two I found useful, but again, as we mentioned before, it's always good to you can use Pinterest as a great resource. Once you start finding a couple of pins like this and saving them, also the algorithm will start turning up more for you, so you can kind of tune it into your needs for reselling and cleaning vintage stuff, if that's your thing, like it's ours. So
the last part that I was going to just touch on is there are some spring 2021 and trending styles of handbags right now. So one of them is like the basket woven bag. So and I'll pop some of these links here I will pop some of these links in there. I can't. It's just I'm sorry. Working with one monitor is not fun.
Not easy.
Yeah. So you'll see like the straw totes, duffel bags are in. So that's. Yeah, so these are just some of the leather satchels. Satchels, I think, have made a big comeback. And then another, just some. So the throwback, the Y2K throwback bags, like those have come back into style. A throwback to cult looks from the early 2000s. The cushion bags will be the next go-to for city girls on the go, blah, blah, blah. So you'll see like those kind of slouchy styles that are the nylon bags like that are back in, minimalist bags. So these go through some of the trends that are back in the croc handbags. And a lot of these are trends that are kind of always in that kind of circle back, but maybe hold a little bit more popularity at certain times than others. So, and then again, this is from Vogue. It has some of the chains. Now chains have been in for a while. That's carried over from last year, but chain bags are big right now. Chain straps, chain details, curved carry-all bags, which could also be this. The one on the right is more like a hobo style. So this goes through totes, structured totes. So if you're interested, in some of what's trending, I can pop some of those in too. And then this has like some of the details like feathers on bags, which is crazy. Some of these are crazy, but I don't know how practical some of these are, but they're on the runway. I don't know if I'd carry an ostrich feather bag, but bottle bags. So I will pop some of those in. And I think that's about it, though, for our handbags. I think I'm going to cut to do you have anything else to add?
No, I think we went over all of it.
Okay, so I'm going to go into our breaking news. And so this week we have this story that you shared with Lola. And
so this is not really news as much as just like a really fun article to read that definitely recommend. It's about a woman who was one of the like wardrobe people for the Crown and found all of the vintage clothing,
which was the Netflix series about Princess Diana. Correct?
Yeah, and it just talks about how she started her vintage business by like selling some stuff on eBay to get her startup money, and it also talks a lot about different specific vintage fashions and stuff. So it's a good kind of educational read also. But I just I was very inspired and motivated after reading this, and
Yeah, we didn't really have any news per se, but that was kind of a fun article.
And so, okay, so Heather, you were talking about this brand earlier, and I don't know it. American West. So was that a bag that would
I think
older ones would have like a gun pocket,
a concealed weapon holder. Yeah.
Okay, so I it's totally outside my realm of experience.
Mine as well. So yeah.
Sounds like that is.
But if we ever find an American West bag, well, then that's something that might be a bolo for for certain people. So
I will definitely look it up. Thank you, Heather.
And then our market report, I know Lula has a couple too. I wanted to share a couple bag sales. Now this one I do have an issue with right now. I had a vintage Gucci bag and it was authenticated. And I paid $40 for the bag. It did have some condition issues, which I had shown. It has some cracking, which is inherent with this type of, vintage Gucci bags like this. And I mentioned that it had the cracking and whatnot. And I did say in the description, I don't know what's wrong with me today. There's quite a bit of wear to the leather and cracking, wear to the body, ink marks inside. So she offered me $100 and I countered at $150. She asked if I could ship it right away. And I said, sure. And she accepted the $150. And then she got the bag and she opened a case because the condition was not what she had expected. So I don't want to say too much because I don't want to, but I'm hoping that the case will go in my favor because I was really clear about the photos. I was really clear. And I responded to the case and said, hey, I mentioned it in the description. I showed all the photos. I mentioned that it did have cracking, wear, ink marks, and the low price was definitely reflected in the condition. So so I would not. You can. I mean, for a vintage Gucci bag, and it is authentic. It had. I did send her the certificate of authenticity with the bag. You can't get a Gucci bag. You can't touch a Gucci bag that's in great condition for that kind of price. So, it's it's just one of those things. So I'm hoping that the case does work out in my favor. I'm not sure what's going to happen yet. It is in review, but that was myself. I did sell that bag this week, so we'll see what happens.
It's a bummer because otherwise it'd have been such great timing. But
I know I was debating on whether to share it because I kind of don't want to jinx it but it's one of those things. And if I do get it back, if they do find in her favor, that's how I showed I showed close-ups of
I felt like your photos on this listing are really well done. So
she basically sent my same, like you can see here, like the zipper pull was reinforced with a safety pin because it had like things like that. I did, and I was really clear on the condition. So I think she was just kind of expecting a pristine condition bag for a bag that had obvious condition issues, the price of a bag that had condition issues. So she did respond that she didn't feel deceived. She just was hoping for better condition, I guess. I don't know. So I'm hoping that will get me the case one, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know what Poshmark's going to do. If I do get it back, maybe I'll sell it for more.
So Jess was just asking that you'll get it back if they side with the buyer, so that you will, right? Like,
if they side with the buyer, they'll force a return, and then she'll have to return it to me. Yeah. And I don't think I'm not sure. I think the way it goes is, I'm not sure. I think she doesn't get her money back until I think the fund. I don't have the funds yet. They're held with Poshmark because you don't get it until the buyer accepts. And when a case opens, the funds are automatically held. So I'm not sure if I get it back, then I think she'll get her funds.
Yeah, I think it's almost like the reverse of what the buyer experiences, where like you get it and accept it as a return, and then the funds are released back to her.
So
I've actually never had that situation happen.
Yeah, so it would have been I haven't had a return on Poshmark either that was forced. I've won the cases that I've only had so few, so I don't know how this is going to go. But whichever way it goes, if I'll just resell it. It's not the end of the world. One of those things. But if you are selling, and I would normally not sell a bag that had this kind of cracking and wear, but it was a Gucci and it's an authentic Gucci. So that's a whole different thing, So I also sold this handbag. Now, I did sell this on consignment for a friend. So it was funny. I got an offer for the first time around. I got the offer for like $25 from someone else. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. I'm selling it on consignment, and Poshmark takes 20%. So I can't take that low of an offer. And then lo and behold, somebody else, it's all in the comments there, but lo and behold, someone else purchased it for the full price. So, and
then
then
it was funny too, right? Because like they came back and
they
oh
were
yeah,
like,
well, I'll
what?
take an offer.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, they said, what's the lowest you'll go? I said, it's not, she said, she said, is it sold? And then I said, yeah, sorry, it apparently sold. And then, oh my gosh, I really wanted this bag. I'm so sad. Well, don't make me an offer for $25 then, you know what? And so she could have come back, it was just one of those things. But anyway, so that was another.
Yeah, but it was so funny because wasn't there a moment where you were like, oh, I don't think it's sold yet. Like, make me a higher offer, I'll consider it. And then you realize, oh wait, actually it did sell.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of a funny one. These I got for $1, and I sold them for 30.
Nice.
The packaging had some issues. They would have probably sold for more like 40 if the package was in perfect shape. But sometimes those Disney store items that are vintage are they have some value. So, and then this was from a blue box that it was from the Thrash Pack, which is $15 plus shipping, or I think it's $15, but I think it's $20 shipped. So this was a good deal because, and everything in there is supposed to be like, have condition issues. Well, this did have some yellowing. I soaked it in Oxy overnight. It came out like new, and I sold it for $55. I took a best offer. So, those sometimes those blue box, the Thrash Packs, the ones with if you can get the stains out and you can repair things, you can really do well. And then Lily, you had a couple this week too.
So I sold this was a sewing pattern that I got in a lot from Shop Goodwill. This was actually the same lot that I sold that catalog of sewing patterns from.
Oh, nice.
So I think at this point I've almost made back my, like I would have if it weren't for eBay fees, but like I'm pretty much right on the cusp of breaking even. And I still have a ton of that lot left, so I'm super happy with it.
Size too.
Mm-hmm. I had actually had this listed best offer, I think, and the person bought it right out, so that was really fun to see that. And then this was just sold right before our show started. I took, oops, sorry.
That was a good. I like how you also put the bust size in that sewing pattern in the keywords.
Yeah, I find that's really helpful because the sizes, as we've mentioned before on the show many times, vintage sizes are generally smaller, and that's true for clothing. It's also true for patterns, sewing patterns. So if you're not sure if you don't know off the top of your head what a size meant in a certain year, you have to like take the time to look at the envelope and check the size. But if you know your bust size, then you're
that's a really good tip. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one I accepted best offer of $8 plus shipping. So I felt like that was fine. A fine offer. This was from a 10 for 10 box.
Okay, so that's not bad.
Really paid for
What's the brand? Is it?
It's called Pieces by Kenzie, which Kenzie is like a junior's kind of brand.
Yeah.
And then Pieces is like, it seems like a little bit like a funkier kind of. They have a lot of these like textures and different some like brightly colored details, things like that. So
well, hey, for 10 for 10, that's that's not bad. So yeah, so and then we do have a question for you this week. We want to know what your most unusual thrifted handbag was. So if you found anything really funky or unusual, let us know. I'd love to hear about it. And then
so As usual, you can find us all over the internet. Nay is Thrifty Nay on Poshmark, Mercari, Depop, and Instagram. I am Run Lola Run on Poshmark and Depop, and Lola Thrifts on Instagram. And we have eBay. We have different names. So Nay is Colbray, Asterisk Dazzle, and I am Low dash by. And you can always email us at naylothrifts@gmail.com.
Yes.
If you have any feedback, ideas for another upcoming episode, if you would like to be a guest or a nominated guest.
Jess actually emailed us and said, hey, I know a lot about ads. Would you be interested in having me as a guest? And we were like, yes, for sure. And so, so email us or drop us a line if you, and next week, again, we will have Jess on talking about ads at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. That's Friday the 30th. We are so excited. Can't wait.
So that's it for this week. Happy Friday, happy weekend, and we will see you next week.
Bye. Have a great week, everyone.